Keely Hodgkinson walked into London Stadium with 60,000 fans expecting history. The oldest women's track world record was supposed to fall right there in front of her home crowd. She had built her entire season around this one race. But when the gun fired, the plan changed. And what she said after crossing the line surprised everyone. To understand what happened in London, you need to understand the number that has haunted this sport for 43 years. 1 minute, 53.28 seconds. That is the women's 800-meter world record. Jarmila Kratochvilova of Czechoslovakia. The record is older than Keely Hodgkinson herself. It is older than most of the athletes who chase it. It is the longest-standing individual track world record in athletics. Runner after runner has come close. Olympic champions, world champions, the fastest women of every generation have taken their shot. None have touched it. Some experts even said it might never be broken. And at the start of 2026, Hodgkinson decided she would be the one to finally prove them wrong. She said openly that she believed the record was possible and that she was excited to try. That belief would be tested in ways she never expected.
For a while, everything pointed her way. Hodgkinson came into 2026 off the healthiest winter of training she had enjoyed in years. In February, she stepped onto the track in Lièvre, France, and destroyed the indoor 800-meter world record. Her time was 1:54.87. She took almost a full second off a mark that had stood for 24 years. She collapsed at the finish line gasping, then smiled and said it was fun. That run sent a message to the whole sport. The Olympic champion was back. She was fit and she was faster than ever. The plan was simple: build through the outdoor season, race in Stockholm, race in Eugene, then attack the world record in London on July 18th with a sold-out home crowd pushing her around every meter of the track. On paper, it was perfect, but track and field has a way of tearing up perfect plans. The first crack came on June 7th in Stockholm. Hodgkinson opened her outdoor 800-meter season and ran the race of her life. Her time was 1:54.33. It was a personal best. It was a new British record. It was the 7th fastest time ever run by a woman, and she lost. A 22-year-old from Switzerland named Audrey Wero blew past everyone and stopped the clock at 1:53.98. Read that time again. Wero became the first woman to break the 1:54 barrier since the world record was set in 1983. Nearly 43 years of waiting, and suddenly a new name was closer to Kratochvilova than anyone alive. Hodgkinson had run faster than ever before, and it was not enough to win. Then Wero twisted the knife. Weeks later, in Paris, she ran even faster, clocking 1:53.80. That made her the world leader, just half a second from the record Hodgkinson had promised to break. The chase was no longer a solo mission. It was a race against a rival who kept getting quicker.
And Hodgkinson's season was about to get much worse. 2 weeks after Stockholm, Hodgkinson lined up for the 400-meter final at the UK Championships. Moments before the race, she felt what she called a little twinge. She pulled out in tears. For an athlete who lost most of her 2025 season to a hamstring injury, that feeling was terrifying. She knew exactly what one wrong step could cost. Then came Eugene on July 4th. The buildup went wrong before she even boarded the plane. A heavy fall in training left her with damage to both knees. She raced anyway, with both knees strapped in tape. She finished second in 1:56.73, beaten by world champion Lilian Odera of Kenya. Second in Stockholm, second in Eugene. 2 Diamond League races, 0 wins, and a body that kept sending warning signs. The pressure kept growing, too. Every interview, every headline, every fan asked about the same number, 1:53.28. The record attempt in London had been promoted for months. Backing out was not an option. This was the athlete arriving in London for the biggest world record attempt of her life. So the question became simple. Would she risk everything for the time, or would she change the plan?
But the field around Hodgkinson was dangerous. Sage Daruma of Ethiopia was there, the woman who took silver behind her at the Paris Olympics. And in the next lane stood a new threat, Femke Bol of the Netherlands.
You may know her as one of the greatest 400-meter hurdlers ever, a two-time world champion in that event. In late 2025, she shocked the sport by leaving the hurdles behind to focus fully on the 800 meters. Just 9 months into the switch, she had already run 1:55.60. This was the first time she and Hodgkinson had ever raced each other over 2 laps. Before the race, Hodgkinson gave the crowd a hint of her mindset. She said she was not putting pressure on herself to chase times, just to meet other people's expectations. She said she knew what she was capable of, and it would be there when she needed it. Then the gun fired. Hodgkinson did not chase a suicide pace. She controlled the race, sitting where she needed to be, saving her strength. Then, with 200 meters to go, she made her move. She surged to the front and opened a gap, but Bol did not fold. The Dutch star came charging down the home straight, closing meter by meter. The crowd roared, "Hodgkinson home!" She held on and crossed the line first. The clock read 1:56.21. Bol took second in 1:56.45, just a quarter of a second behind. Daruma finished third in 1:56.92. Hodgkinson had won. The crowd celebrated, but everyone in the stadium could see the truth on the scoreboard. The time was nearly 3 seconds away from the world record. Kratoblova's mark had survived again. So, was this a failure? Listen to Hodgkinson's own words after the race, because they tell you everything. She admitted to mixed emotions and said she was a little disappointed in the time. But then she said something that changed the whole story. She said she was not really chasing times and that winning was the main aim. Read between the lines. After the twinge, after the fall, after 2 straight defeats, Hodgkinson made a choice. She stopped racing the clock and started racing the field. She protected her body, took the win, and walked away healthy. Remember, this is the same athlete whose 2025 season was almost wiped out by a hamstring injury. She raced only a handful of times that whole year. She knows better than anyone that a healthy body in August is worth more than a fast time in July.
And here is the part many fans miss. She was still only 2 seconds off the fastest time in the world in 2026, on a day when she was not even trying to run fast. The engine that ran 1:54.33 in June has not gone anywhere. Wero's rise actually proves the point. If a 22-year-old can run 1:53.98, the human barrier is breaking. The record that stood untouched for 4 decades is now within reach of 2 different women at the same time. The only question is who gets there first, and that sets up a showdown you do not want to miss. Hodgkinson has already named her next target. London was not the end of Keely Hodgkinson's chase. It was the reality check that forced her to fight smarter. She learned she cannot outrun a broken plan, but she can rebuild one. The world record attempt will come again on her terms when her body is ready. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit subscribe so you do not miss what happens when Hodgkinson, Wero, and Brodus and Ball collide again. Drop your prediction in the comments. Does Kratokvilova's record fall in 2026, or does it survive another year?